There's a significant thing in today's video. We're discussing Kevin O'Leary, Kathy Wood, and Tom Lee. Three of the most well-known figures in finance offer their opinions on the future of blockchain technology, cryptocurrency, and the potential for this new wave of on-chain finance to directly impact Wall Street. We've been discussing going on-chain for more than 10 years, let's face it. Although this concept has been around since the early days of Bitcoin, it has never materialized on a large scale. Now that the momentum has arrived, what is causing it to grow? A fresh round of regulations and incentives. The sort of setting that is genuinely encouraging conventional finance to begin constructing on the blockchain. This is no longer theoretical. Blockchain is actually being used by people as a digital payment method. And you don't just discuss cryptocurrency when it occurs. You must use cryptocurrency to transact. Going on chain is what that entails. This isn't advice on finances. Here's the crazy part. For the first time. Nevertheless, excitement isn't driving this change. Utility is the driving force behind it. The same organizations who earlier referred to the cryptocurrency bubble are now developing payment solutions for cross-border settlements on Solana, Ethereum, and yes, even XRP's ledger. Here's the problem though. The system became stuck this weekend when everyone hurried on-chain at that unexpected spike in volatility. The network that is expected to be the future of digital payments, Ethereum, the second largest blockchain in the world, really froze. It became overloaded. Ethereum can be compared to a toll booth on a one-lane freeway. On that highway, every vehicle is a deal. No issue in typical traffic. However, all those cars are lined up and honking at the toll gate when the volatility hits and billions begin to pass through. Indeed, you can cut the line if you have the funds to do so. To get through more quickly, you might pay a greater charge. But over the weekend, some people were paying over $1,000 merely to send a transaction. Imagine spending $1,000 on gas and just getting a $2 coffee. That isn't scalability. That's chaos. The story then enters the picture. Because XRP experienced an extremely odd event when Ethereum and Binance were both suffocating under volatility. I go into great detail in the XRP Millionaire Blueprint to explain how the top 1% of investors are preparing for this exact shift and how they identify asymmetric opportunities like XRP before they become widely known. This comprehensive resource includes a text, infographic, and video that demonstrate how the most astute investors are currently preparing for this once-in-a-lifetime change in international finance. The pinned comment beneath this video contains it. Now, let's discuss about what happened. Over the course of the weekend, XRP fell all the way to $180 before rising to $233 within a few hours. That isn't typical price behavior, particularly for an asset that recently passed the SEC case, one of the largest legal obstacles in cryptocurrency history. In addition, the SEC has formally approved several spot XRP ETFs for additional examination, which was nearly impossible under the previous administration. You would expect that XRP would be skyrocketing even more now that Gary Gensler is no longer in power and that new laws are being proposed that genuinely support digital assets. Why isn't it, then? Two words sum it up: market manipulation. This isn't about some secret plot, even though I realize it sounds clear. It has to do with structure. You and I, the typical investor, are unable to change the situation. The market as a whole moves when the whales, or more crucially, the exchanges, decide to shift their supply after we purchase a few $1,000s worth of XRP. Responds immediately. After examining the blockchain data, I discovered the following. During the October 10th crash, the largest holders, the top 100 XRP addresses, were not selling. Actually, a lot of people were hoarding more XRP. Since these wallets aren't used by random traders, that is crucial. They are exchanges, organizations, and occasionally Ripple itself. For comparison, most of the top 10 wallets are owned by Ripple. As they serve as custodians for customer deposits, it makes reasonable that Binance also owns a number of them. However, a closer examination reveals that none of these significant wallets experienced significant sales on October 10th. The last notable on-chain transaction that we can link to Binance occurred on September 22nd, 2025, when they sold off about 70 million XRP. That's a significant swing, and the type of transaction has the power to temporarily lower prices on its own. That wasn't the case with this crash, though. Weeks had passed since then. Therefore, who was selling on October 10th if the top holders weren't? Because exchanges can function off-chain, it refers to internal exchange wallets, which are hidden from the general public. Inside, holdings can be moved or disposed of without instantly appearing on the public ledger. Additionally, even minor changes in those wallets might cause the market to fluctuate if they have enormous XRP reserves. This is why, even though the fundamentals are stronger than ever, you see abrupt drops that defy logic. This is where the situation becomes even more intriguing. As we have stated, Ethereum was congested. Due to their exchange's inability to manage the volume, Binance witnessed stable currencies momentarily lose their dollar peg. That is a serious problem for trust. In the meantime, XRP's network continued to function reliably, quickly, and cleanly. What asset, then, maintains the smooth settlement of transactions between banks and institutions when volatility strikes? Ethereum gas fees skyrocket, and stable currencies begin to lose their peg on Binance. What's crucial to comprehending this moment is that it's XRP. The underlying infrastructure conflict between old and new finance is currently underway, while everyone else is focusing on short-term price charts. The scalability problems with Ethereum still exist. Although it is not quick money, Bitcoin is sound money. However, XRP is the only asset that was intended for institutional payments from the beginning. And it's getting closer to realizing that initial ambition now that the legal cloud has cleared. And that's why you'll keep seeing moves like Cathie Wood and Tom Lee talking openly about the next phase of blockchain adoption, because they're not looking at meme currencies or trends. In real time, they are seeing the reconstruction of the future financial systems railroads. When Cathie, the statement, "This is the year Wall Street and regulators finally became open to rebuilding on blockchain," wasn't merely a conversation starter. It was an indication the stablecoin market is exploding. ETFs are getting approved, and the hurdles that kept institutions from touching crypto are being steadily dismantled. Even further, Tom Lee said that Ethereum would approach $60,000 in a scenario where Bitcoin reaches $2 million. Now, whether or not those precise numbers hit doesn't even matter as much as what it represents. Widespread institutional conviction that cryptocurrency is here to stay rather than as a marginal activity, but as the foundation for the upcoming financial revolution. And every time that belief rises, it favors XRP, since XRP isn't attempting to compete with Bitcoin. It's solving a separate problem: quick and easy international payments. This explains the change in tone from crypto is risky to crypto is infrastructure. And XRP stands precisely at the crossroads of those two realms, between decentralized blockchain tech and real-world financial utility. Thus, when Binance is overwhelmed by the heat, when Ethereum's toll booth becomes congested, and when stablecoins begin to falter, XRP simply keeps transporting value from one end of the world to the other in seconds. And that's what most investors don't notice. Because the major players aren't responding to the daily charts, they become enmeshed in the noise and price fluctuations and fail to notice the foundation being created underneath. As usual, they are building up gradually and meticulously before to the subsequent leg up. Additionally, the same pattern keeps coming up when you go back through the data. The whales build up when retail panic sells. That isn't conjecture at all. That's verified on-chain behavior. And the data from October 10th supports that. These top wallets didn't sell, once again. Since they are aware of what will happen next, they added. And they know just how rapidly sentiment can switch when the larger market catches up to what's already happening behind the scenes. The coin that is trending on social media is not the main focus of the real capital rotation that is now taking place beneath the surface. It concerns the allocation of infrastructure funds. Because Wall Street wasn't looking for rapid transactions when they eventually chose to get involved in cryptocurrency. They arrived to seize control of the trains, the systems that transport trillions of people each day. And that's precisely why individuals like Cathie Wood and Tom Lee are claiming that this is the most significant year for blockchain in more than 10 years. Not due to conjecture, but rather because the game's rules have evolved.